This is the Financially Simple Podcast, a show dedicated to destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner. And now, here's your host, pizza-loving, certified financial planner, Justin Goodbread.
Welcome to Financially Simple. This is a finance show for small business owners about money, how it works in our business and personal lives, and how we can build wealth to be financially independent. I'm your host, Justin Goodbread. Today's episode is titled, Learning is Multiplicative. Recently, my family and I drove to Boston. We drove from Knoxville, Tennessee, as Google Maps said, roughly 16 hours, which turned into 18 hours, on the roads to Boston. And in typical fashion, I was in class for a week, looking at screens, listening to CPAs, attorneys, business advisors, consultants, educate me on the finer things of business, and my family, my wife, Emily, and the kids were visiting the great city of Boston. I'm a little bitter, as you probably can tell. They got to see everything. And me, I looked at screens all week. But it's okay. So the city of Boston has always intrigued me. Much of the early days of our country's birth centered around the epicenter of Boston. But my fascination began with this town as a small child for probably the most unusual reason. I come to love the person Benjamin Franklin, and I admire his accomplishment. Now, many of us know that Benjamin Franklin appears on the $100 bill. Most of us know that, right? We say, show me the Benjamins, or do you have Franklins in your pocket? Those are some sayings I've heard. And in school, we know that Benjamin Franklin used a kite and a key to prove that lightning was actually electricity. However, many of his deeds have since been forgotten. Things like Franklin served as a delegate in France during the Revolutionary War. Franklin invented the lightning rod, which I always thought was fascinating that he invented the lightning rod. In fact, in his particular house, whenever he placed their lightning rod on the house, he had bells that would chime anytime electrostatic was in the air. I always thought that was cool. He developed the harmonica, which Beethoven and Bach, I believe, used that particular invention. And basically what it was glass that he would spin using his feet. And with the wetting of his finger, much like we would take our wet finger and run around the top of a wine glass, his instrument would actually create a sound. So he invented that. Now, many people don't realize that Benjamin Franklin is actually a member of the International Swimming Hall of Fame. Yeah, he invented some things that ended up putting him there. Franklin retired at age 42 after owning a print shop, and he was a publisher and a land speculator. He was published as an author at age 16 under the fictitious name Silence Dogood. In fact, that very publishing led to a conflict between he and his brother, which pushed him into Pennsylvania area. Now, there are many more items which Franklin can claim recognition for. I love the fact that he wanted the turkey to be the national bird. I think that's pretty cool. Imagine Thanksgiving without a turkey. And he had many reasons. One reason was because of his high intellect. A turkey is a pretty smart bird. We actually have a pet turkey on the farm. We call him Tom, and we have Violet, his girl, his mistress, whatever you want to call her, his wife. And then they have TJ, Tom Jr. Tom Jr. is a hatching that we incubated. And so we have Tom and Tom Jr. who are in the farm, and they gobble every time the girls walk out. For some reason, they're in love with Emily. Nonetheless, the most amazing thing to me about Benjamin Franklin was this. He only had 2 years of formal education. From the age of 8 to 12, he went to a small school his dad paid for. But after those 2 years, he gained most of his education from reading books. Now, I heard this story of Benjamin Franklin when I was young. Many of you know that I was homeschooled the majority of my life, back when homeschooling wasn't as popular as it is today. And I fell in love with books. Listening to Benjamin Franklin and how he self-studied or self-taught and created so many different inventions. I mean, he founded hospitals and universities and schools and just did so much for the cause of our United States. I just fell in love with his particular passion for learning. Now, many of my closest friends realize that I read books nonstop. In fact, I personally try to read a book a week. Now, I've been doing this since I was about 16 years of age. I love to read books. Now, have I read a book a week my entire life? No, not exactly. I try to get about 50 to 60 books a year. Sometimes a book may take me longer than a week, and sometimes I can read a book in a couple of hours. Whenever I go on vacation, I usually take a flurry of books with me to read. In fact, a few years ago, I went to the beach and I had a group of books and I took a picture. I shared it on Facebook and people were like, dude, you're crazy. And it had books about child education, how to teach your kids. It had things about the pending apocalypse. You know, we were dealing with zombie apocalypse not too long ago. And I was reading about the pending apocalypse and the financial woes of our society and of our world. I had a book on goats. Yeah. Goats. I wanted to know how you could properly medicate goats. I have a couple of goats and I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to hurt them, giving them their shots they need. And I read a lot of things that business owners would often read. You know, as business owners, we pour much of ourselves out in our work. Just like a pitcher that you're pouring sweet tea out on a hot summer day, we just empty ourselves out into our work. We take care of our clients or our customers, our vendors. We pour so much of ourselves out that if we're not careful, we soon stop investing in ourselves. Of course, we are constantly learning via our activities, and education is all around us. I love T.D. Jakes. I love to watch him on YouTube. In fact, he delivered a message to his congregation that just hit home with me here recently. It was just powerful, helped me out a lot. But he once said, the world is a university, and everyone in it is a teacher. Make sure when you wake up in the morning, you go to school. I think that's powerful. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, shall I tell you a secret of a true scholar? It is this: every man I meet is my master in some point, and in that I learn from him. Yeah, we walk out of our house, we walk out of our businesses, and every person we meet can be our teacher, and every location is a classroom. However, I want to dive deep into a simple concept that I heard some years ago about the multiplicative nature of learning, or as we learn, things multiply. So I'm going to give you an example about myself and then relate it to a couple of clients that I have. So you guys realize now that I'm a certified financial planner. I have been trained as an expert in the matters of personal planning. Not too long ago, I added the CEPA, or Certified Exit Planning Advisor training, and this gave me a viewpoint on how to help business owners prepare to exit and sell their business. So as a CFP, or as a Certified Financial Planner, I have a point of expertise, and as a CEPA, I have a point of expertise. So then if I combined the CFP and the CEPA combination together, I have another point. So in all, using my CFP, I can approach a client just as a CFP, or I can work with a client just as a CEPA, or I can work with a client using both combinations together. And in this case, 1, my CFP, plus 1, the CEPA, actually gives me 3 different viewpoints that I can work singular or in combo with clients. Now, recently I added the CVGA, and that stands for Certified Value Growth Advisor. So now I've added another point of reference that I can work with clients on. So that now gives me 7 points of view. Each one of them has a standalone, so that gives me 3 different ones. Then I can combine them in pairs of 2. That gives me another 3 different viewpoints, and then I can combine them all together. So therefore, I have 7 different viewpoints. So in this case, 1, my CFP, plus 1, my CEPA, plus 1, my CVGA, equals not 3, but 7 individually or paired different points of view. See, as a small business owner, I believe we should never stop learning. In the modern world, continuing education is popular and many times mandated. In many professional service and trades, we are required to take CEs. Perhaps your field requires continuing education. What I'm talking about here, though, is so much deeper than just the minimum required education. So let me give you an example. I have several dentists, and I've said that many times. We work with tons of dentists as clients. And I have several dentists that have gone beyond the bread and butter, as I call it, the basic dentistry, and they've ventured into different areas of practice. And they've taken some advanced courses, which has allowed them to view and to help their patients from multiple different views. So I know dentists that work in the area of full mouth reconstruction. They go in and they'll pull out teeth and put them back in. And I've even seen one particular dentist advertised your mouth today, or new teeth today, or new mouth today, all your teeth in one day, something of that nature. I know dentists that focus on sedation dentistry or sleep therapy. And, truth be told, some purists in the dental world may view these expansions as a threat to the pure essence of dentistry. But, the dentists who have learned this extra knowledge now have several more points to which they can derive their prognosis from. They can serve their clients better. They can offer more comprehensive points of view for their clients. So I ask you this. When is the last time you attended a paid course on a topic which should help you be a better leader, or a stronger marketer, or perhaps learn how to de-risk your company? When's the last time you stepped away from your business to learn better goal setting, or action planning, or quantification analysis? Friends, today's a short podcast. It is. And my simple challenge to you is, like Benjamin Franklin, never stop learning. Read, listen, ask questions every chance you get, and help multiply your base knowledge. And with that, I'd like to thank you for joining me on the Financially Simple podcast today. As always, the show notes and links to today's podcast can be found at financiallysimple.com under the heading podcast. While you're there on the blog, feel free to sign up for our weekly newsletter. Every week, I release tax tips, business tips, wealth management tips, and so much more. If you like the show, please subscribe. Share the podcast with other business owners. And as I say every week, life is hard. Life is good, and life can be frustrating. We all know this. Money doesn't have to be. Let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Hey, y'all go out and make it a great day.
You have been listening to the Financially Simple podcast. The information in this show is for informational purposes only. This show is not investment advice. Instead, seek help from a competent financial advisor. Justin Goodbread, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Heritage Investors, a registered investment advisor.